To all who listen to this happy pod, welcome. My name is Noah Parker, and this is my world of wonder and Marci. What day is today?
Today is DCOM day.
What day is today?
Today is DCOM day.
That's right, everyone. Marci's here with me today in the studio. We are rewatching Horse Sense,
Yes.
which I believe last week I said was we were finally getting out of the 90s. And then when I looked to see when this movie was released, it was 1999. And I'm like, of course it is.
Yeah.
Soon, guys. We'll be out of there soon, I promise.
I'm pretty sure the next one.
It's gotta be,
The
right?
next one has to be.
Because like the last four in a row have all been 99.
They
and
couldn't
I'm
have
like,
released more than 4 in a year, right?
I doubt it. But maybe, because I was 2 years old at the time, so like I remember anything. But like they did at one point do like for the month of June or something, they had like a new DCOM every week.
That's true. Like every Friday was a new movie.
So I'm like, I wonder if this was a thing they did before, and so we have a whole bunch.
It's possible.
But anyway,
anywho.
so yes, the movie was released in 1999, and I failed at putting the writer in. So let me go find the writer real quick, and then we'll the writers. My apologies, the writers. I guess I'll just read those off really quick since I'm bringing them in. It was co-written by two fellows. It looks like two people. Chad Hayes and Carrie Hayes. Which my instinct is like husband and wife. Or brother and sister.
Brother and sister
or brothers.
Brother.
Because like the way that Carrie is spelled is like, I don't know a lot of dudes named Carrie, but like usually it's spelled.
That's usually the male spelling.
Yeah. So could be. You know what we could do? I could literally just go over and click his name on IMDb, or click their name, on IMDb, and it is indeed that didn't help. No, I believe it is a woman.
Okay.
Kind of hard to tell because we don't get a photograph. I get a picture from The Conjuring, or a short clip from The Conjuring, and it's not super helpful.
It's not helpful.
He is a writer and producer known for The Conjuring. Okay, there we go.
Cool.
So yes, brothers then? Potentially
brothers.
Well, I mean,
cousins?
Cousins?
It makes sense. This movie's about cousins.
Chad Hayes was born in Portland, Oregon, and is also... Okay, hold on. I got this. Chad Hayes. Carrie Hayes. Both born in Portland, Oregon. I'm going to guess they're brothers.
Let's say they're brothers.
Yeah, because Carrie was born April 21st, 1961. This is a lot more information than we usually give on the writers here. But and then Chad was born April 21st. Hard stop. The fact they're both April 21st, even though I don't have a year
twins?
for Chad, I'm guessing they're twins.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Twin brothers or
twin brothers.
Cousins born on the same day.
Could be.
Could be.
We don't get a lot of information on them, but that's okay. Because we are moving on now to our cast of players who gave us this, in my opinion, wonderful movie, honestly.
Yeah.
Starting off with our lead boy, Tommy Biggs, played by Andy Lawrence, as we have referred to him since we were children.
Yeah.
Because when this movie came out, it was starring Andy Lawrence and...
And then Michael Woods was played by his brother, Joey Lawrence.
Which is awesome. This is the first, like I said last week, I think, in the podcast with Lauren, this is the first of 2 or 3 movies
I believe
starring the Lawrence brothers. I think it's only 2 that's starring more than one of them.
This one, and then it's a second with the same characters. They have 2.
Is Jumping Ship the same
Jumping
characters?
Ship is the same characters.
But they just add in Matthew?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I didn't
Matthew's
remember that.
not related to them at all.
Right. He's just the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
He's the guy who owns the boat. Okay. But
I'm
excited to get to that.
Tommy and Michael going on a cruise together.
Okay.
Or going on a vacation or something.
Okay. I'm with you. Did you say his name?
Yeah, Joey Lawrence. Yes.
Okay, my bad. I was not paying attention as much as I should have. And then Jules Biggs, who is Tommy's mom, was played by Susan Walters.
Then we have Gina, who was Michael's girlfriend. She was played by Jolie Jenkins.
Annoying, clingy girlfriend. And then, is that JC?
Yeah.
JC Woods, who was Jules'
sister. Michael's mom.
Yeah, Michael's mom. Was played by Leanne Hunley.
Then we have Glenn Woods. Sorry. Michael's dad, played by Robin Thomas.
Do you think that was on purpose? Probably not, because it has nothing to do with the state of Colorado.
No.
But we have Glenwood Springs here in Colorado, just so you guys. I think there's a Glenwood in a lot of states, honestly.
I think
so. Then MC, oh my.
Gainey,
thank you. My mind was putting a D in there, and there's not one. MC Gainey played Twister.
Mm-hmm. He's the head of the ranch.
Yes, the main man.
Yeah. And then Steve Revis played Mule.
Who was the Native American hand, who was like probably my favorite character, to be honest.
I love him so much. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's in Buffalo Dreams as well.
Okay, yeah, I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah.
Then we have Frida.
Frida
there
Foshen.
Isn't either. Yeah. Sorry. Frida Foshen played Arlene, who was the Woods maid.
Yeah,
housekeeper. She cooked. I think housekeeper is like usually strictly cleaning, but like maid is like cooking and cleaning. I could be. I don't know. I would.
She was their house lady.
She was there.
Yeah.
She did stuff for them.
I can't read this name. Hold on.
Ian Ogilvy.
Ogilvy.
I think it's Ogilvy.
Sure. Ogilvy played Miles.
I'm surprised I can read that. My eyes are not focusing on the screen.
Miles is Gina's dad.
Yes, who is a terrible person.
Yes.
Not really, honestly, but it's not that bad. Yeah, and then there's several more people credited here. I guess we could go into it, but it's like y'all could just search it up. It's fine. It's not that hard.
Yeah, you can look at it. Most of them
those are the
like
people who are the
girl.
main drivers. Yeah, teenage girl, auctioneer. I don't think anyone else is like a main part of the story. So
no,
except for for one, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
He's absolutely not part of the main story. But anyway, we move on. Our music was put together by Marco. What the heck am I reading? Marco. You want to just read that one? I can't even. There's too many consonants in a row there. I can't see it.
Why did two dyslexic people decide to read things?
Why did two dyslexic people decide to read things and not practice them beforehand?
Yeah. Marco Marinangeli.
Butchered for sure.
I'm so sorry.
Cinematography was done by Rodney Charters.
Editing by Terry Stokes.
And that is our casting crew.
Yes.
I always like to give shout outs to like the cinematography and the editing and the music because like
those are not easy jobs.
Yeah, and my thing is like I went to school for editing. Like I have learned to appreciate editing because when you don't notice editing, it's very, very good editing.
Right.
When you're watching a movie and you're like, that was a terrible jump cut. Oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
like
crap.
Like in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
There's one that's I cannot not see.
Yeah. It's at the reaping, right?
Yeah, where she's like screaming. She's like, I volunteer. And he like quick cuts.
Yeah.
She's like jumping up and then it's like the next cut is her standing straight up and she's like, I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah.
You're like,
that
what?
one's awful.
It's a hard cut.
But that's the only one in that movie that's bad, I think. Well, there's probably other ones, but it's fine.
That's super noticeable.
Yeah. But it's funny. Like I just noticed that a lot. Like, well, I don't notice it. And that's the thing that makes me appreciate it now is like when you don't notice editing, it's good editing.
Yeah.
And I'm always impressed by Disney's.
Yeah.
Well, not Disney because it's other production companies that are doing it, but for Disney.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're being held to a Disney standard, you know, so it's like, it's valid.
Yeah. Would you like me to read the synopsis?
Yes, please do that while I look for the thing I was looking for that I can't remember what it was.
All right. So the synopsis I found, I did not write this one. It says a heartwarming drama about two cousins who have personal differences but pull together to save the family home. When a spoiled youngster is sent to stay at his cousin's Montana ranch, the two boys initially fight, but unite when they learn the ranch is in danger of being lost.
Not a bad one.
It's not a bad one.
That's a good one. Now, what I will say is that Tommy knows the ranch is in danger.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting the way they phrase that, but it's not like a huge problem.
It's not. No.
But yeah, cool. So let's get into the film.
Yeah.
It starts out with, if I'm remembering correctly, it's the ranch, right? And they're cooking breakfast together.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just shows.
Well, it just shows
cooking,
a hand,
yeah, it
right?
Just shows a hand cooking breakfast.
Yeah.
But it cuts to her calling for Tommy, so you just
assume
assume that
so
it's,
it must be her.
Yeah.
There's nobody else in that. Well, I guess it could have been one of the two guys.
It could have been one of the ranch hands.
You don't get introduced to them till a little bit later. So
yeah. I think it's just like they're showing like life on the ranch. This is how we make breakfast. And then she's like, all right, Tommy, it's time to go. Excuse me.
You're good.
And because then he's like, hold on, I'm just finishing. He like makes he makes a wooden whistle for Michael. He like really looks up to him.
Yeah, he does.
He wants to be him. He doesn't realize what he is like, because the only other time he's interacted with him was when they had a family reunion,
right? Which I'm assuming was a few years prior. Like it wasn't like last year. No,
it was like at least 4 years prior. Because he makes a comment later about hanging out with a 7-year-old.
Right.
So it's like a few years.
Right.
It's at least 4 years, because Tommy's like 11 now or something like that. 11 or 12.
Yeah. But yeah, then so it goes from there. I know there's some more stuff that happens, but it goes from there to the Arlene cooking or preparing breakfast for the Woods family.
Yeah.
And is that kale?
It's like wheatgrass or something.
I don't know.
It looks like she's just juicing some grass.
Yeah. And I'm like, and you can tell we're in a really bougie,
very bougie,
East Hollywood, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Beverly Hills household where it's just so bougie that it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Michael's alarm.
I did not like his alarm.
That gave me the creeps. It was so weird.
It's just a woman's mouth.
Yeah. And he's like, what does he say? It's like,
it's 12:15. Time to wake up.
Honestly, I'm like 12:15.
I was like,
golly.
Okay, he's like 20 in this.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to college.
Yeah.
Badly, and I'm like,
but he's going.
He's going, sort of. He went to a class. They showed him in a class before summer break, which is important later.
Yes, that comes in handy.
But he's like, I feel so refreshed. I woke up at 12:15. And I was like, huh?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like
even as a 20-year-old, when I was 20, I was like, I might have been waking up at like 10:30 or 11.
Right.
But I don't think I slept in past 12 ever.
I don't think I have either. And it's like on days when I'm like intentionally trying to sleep in, I'm up at 8:00 at the latest.
Yep.
Like today, for example. I mean, I didn't have till 8 to sleep in today, but I could have stayed in bed, and I basically got up as soon as my wife left.
Yeah. You're like, I guess I'm awake now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, and that's like every time I do that all the time when I have a day off or I work later or whatever, and she leaves in the morning, I'm always like, I'll just stay in bed. I can stay in bed for a while.
Yeah.
But it's usually like she leaves and I'm like, well.
Now I'm bored.
Yeah. So
what am I to do?
It's pretty fun, to be honest, but
yeah,
I think it's just weird to hear about anyone sleeping in past
noon.
I mean 10.
Yeah.
I think 10 is reasonable.
Yeah.
Like I have people at work that I'm like, you want to like start working earlier? And they're like, I don't wake up till like 11:30, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Fix that.
Yeah. Like,
anyway,
if you get an office job, you have to be up by at least 8.
Yeah.
Because you'd be working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
8 to 4, something like that.
Exactly.
But
yeah. So basically from there, I'm trying to like skip things that aren't super important.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip ahead to when he's in class, when Michael's in his class and he gets his D for the paper that ends up being super important later.
Yes.
I'm gonna. Maybe I should wait till the end to talk about this, but I'm gonna say it now because we're here.
Say
and
it
I'm
now.
talking
We'll
about the
recap
paper.
later.
He got a D on that paper,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna use this as reliable information."
He does.
And I'm like, "But you got a D.
But you got a D.
Are you sure that is accurate?"
I feel like because he has his dad look at it, I feel like he also has his dad do like some quick research because he does say, "I did some research."
He didn't do any research. I mean, I guess he did when he was
Yeah.
writing the paper, presumably.
Maybe.
I don't know.
He probably talked to his dad a lot longer than it shows.
Yeah. Oh, I guess an important part before he goes to school, kind of, is that
Oh yeah, he has to pick up Tommy.
He has to pick up Tommy from the airport, and
airport.
JC, his mom, is like, "Don't forget, you have to be there at 4:30 to pick him up."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I won't forget." And then, of course, he's at school, and he's in class with Gina, his annoying girlfriend. Yeah. And she buys him a watch. First of all I want to stop and say here is Joey's, like, acting when he's opening the watch. I was like, this is kind of painful.
What did you get me? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, like, no way.
Wait,
and I'm like, dude.
So I was like,
we're overacting a little bit here.
We know you can do better.
Let's reel that in a little bit. It was a little cringy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But every other moment throughout the whole movie was great.
It was great.
And what's another kind of like filmmaking-ish fact for people is that typically in movies, they will film like the middle parts first.
Yeah.
Because you're still trying to find your character a little bit.
Right.
Right. And then once you have your character locked in, they do the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Typically. That's not always how it's done.
Right.
But a lot of the times that's how it's done because if you're not fully in your character in the middle of the movie, people don't notice it as much as the very beginning. You need to set the tone for who your character is. And I kind of got the vibe that was where that was shot was early on. Like that was one of the first couple shots of the movie because of how odd I felt like he was acting compared to
the rest of the movie.
So but anyway, so then he's like, he puts on the watch and it's like kind of gorgeous. I'm assuming it was a Rolex because it's Beverly Hills
likely,
and it was probably not cheap. And he looks at the watch and he's like, "Is that the right time?" And I'm like,
did she set first of all, did she set the watch when she got it?
That's what I'm wondering.
Because she was like, "I sure hope so."
Yeah. See, that's what I was wondering too, because I've never bought an expensive watch.
I've never bought an expensive watch.
I've had several Walmart digital watches and a couple. I have a Mickey Mouse one that I guess isn't keeping time, but
my Apple Watch, but
that gets your time from your phone,
right.
So
it's like
you're not setting that.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe when you buy a Rolex, it is always set when you buy it. Maybe you don't have to set it. I don't know. I would not know that kind of thing. Maybe someday I will, but not anytime soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, he basically realizes that he's 30 minutes late for picking up Tommy.
Yeah.
And so he rushes to the airport in his
Porsche.
I don't like the red color on that Porsche, honestly.
I don't either.
I like Porsches that are black, white, or the like powder blue color, kind of like the color of the table, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't like red Porsches. Like they look weird. No. But that's totally like doesn't matter. Yeah. But he rolls up to the pickup area for Tommy. And he's like, "Oh, Tommy, I'm so sorry. LA traffic is crazy."
Yeah.
And then poor Tommy
he's like,
accepts
"That's
it
okay, I understand."
Yeah, he just accepts it.
Yeah. From what it sounds like, this is his first time ever outside of Montana. Because he asks his mom, like, "What's California like?" And she's like, it's different.
I got that vibe too. That it is like, probably the first, well, maybe not the first time out of Montana, because I'm assuming the family reunion was probably not in Montana. I
don't know, because they talk about horse riding and stuff. Oh, no, they say that was donkeys in... Yeah, it's not in Montana.
Yeah. They're somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't remember where, but
I don't
they say it, I think, in that moment, now that you mention it. Yeah, talking about, remember. But yeah, so he's definitely been out of Montana, but like, California is a whole different beast anyway.
Different beast, yeah.
I don't love California. I love Disneyland.
I love Disneyland.
If I could just go to Disneyland without having to go through the rest of California, I'd be happy.
Like if we could just like fly and land in Disneyland.
Just skydive into the park.
Incredible. I would.
That'd be sweet. Probably land on the Incredicoaster.
Incredicoaster.
I don't know. You said incredible. And I was like, I got to get the coaster in there. Anyway.
I gotta get it.
Good grief. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens after he picks up Tommy? feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, so
No, you're fine.
Turn it over.
So he's like, first of all, car phone was like a brand new thing for them. It was like their little flip phone in a little adapter thing, and then it was like this giant speaker. Yeah. Like it looks like a radio. Yeah. At least from what I could see of in the car. But Gina calls him and she's like, we're still doing something for our anniversary. 2-week anniversary. That's why she buys him the Rolex.
Okay, I missed that detail.
Yeah. She's like, I know our anniversary is not till tomorrow, but happy 2-week anniversary. And
that's so wild.
Yeah. Maybe that's why his acting is so bad, because he's like, 2 weeks, wow.
Right. Like, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. The vibe I get from Michael with his attitude towards Gina is strictly like he just wants to have relations with her.
Yes. I think he also wants to be close to her dad, because her dad is rich. Is he a director? He's a movie director. Yeah. Yeah. So he wants to he doesn't actually say he wants to be an actor. I think he's using Gina
to get somewhere in there.
He's using her to get something.
Wants to direct or act or whatever it may be.
Yes. But the whole time they're driving back to Michael's house, Tommy's trying to give him the whistle. Yeah. And he's just cutting him off every time he says something. And Gina calls and he's like, say hi to Tommy. And she's like, hi, Tommy. Yeah.
Big sad. Poor Tommy. Yeah. I felt so bad for him in this moment.
I felt so bad for him.
But then, I feel like it also makes me it was kind of making me reflect and make sure that I'm not like Michael.
Am I? Yeah.
I'm fairly certain I'm not.
I'm pretty sure we're not.
But sometimes I'm like, maybe I need to really think about what I'm saying to people and how they because you don't I think one of the crazy things in life in general is that you just don't realize how much some people look up to you. Right. Yeah. And you might not want that, not like you don't want them to, but it's you might not be trying to be a role model. Right. But someone is looking up to you.
Someone's looking up to you. Someone wants to be like you.
Moral of the story here. That was what I got out of this.
Yeah. It was Tommy just wanted to be like Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like it's because he's always around his mom and the 2 ranch hands. He's always around adults.
Right. There's no one that's even remotely close to his age.
Yeah. And so then when he hangs out with Michael, he's like, this is a cool guy who's almost my age. Yeah. I
significantly closer than my mom, old lady.
Yeah. Because he really looked up to his dad too.
Right.
Which we didn't mention. His dad got sick and died.
Well, I don't know if we needed to. It's a Disney movie.
I guess that's true.
We mentioned his mom and we didn't mention his dad. So
someone
I think
has to get sick.
You kind of get to the conclusion there that dad is dead, because that's what happens in every movie except Brink and Xenon, I think. Well, no, I guess the 13th year there was also 2 parents there, but neither of them were actually his parents.
Yeah, but where's his actual dad?
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
So 13th. Oh my! Hey.
Anyway,
you're right, probably, but jeez.
Sorry. Didn't mean to
that's so funny.
Anyway, so they get back to Michael's house, and he introduces Tommy to Arlene, and instantly friends. She's like, "Oh my gosh!"
Well, yeah, and I think that makes sense because Michael looks at her as just, I don't want to say but servant, but as servant.
Yeah, he's you're just here to help me.
Yeah. And Tommy's coming from the ranch background where
they all work together.
They all work together. Yeah. Everyone is a part of the team. So he has a different attitude towards Arlene. Yeah. All together.
Yeah. So then they go into their movie theater room basically. And he's like, we've got popcorn, we've got candy, we've got everything. And then he's like, he's like, do you know how to, he's like, check this out. And he turns on the TV and what movie is playing?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was like, I don't know where you're leading to this. When he turns on the TV, the movie playing on the screen behind Michael is Brink.
It is Brink.
And I
specifically Val's run.
Yeah, Val's run
on the big ramp.
Yeah, and it made me audibly go ha, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I made a sound.
Yeah, when I was watching, I was like, "Oh, that's hilarious!
Yeah.
Good one, Disney. Good one."
And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, I mean, it makes sense because Brink would have come out while they were filming this, probably. So like those things, it's like perfect. And then that makes the thing that we were talking about, alluding to a little bit earlier at the cast, makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through. I always take a screenshot of the cast on Google, and we just read off of those. And when I was about to take my screenshot, I noticed that Sam Horrigan was credited as Val.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on a second. I swear Sam Horrigan was credited as Val in Brink.
Yeah. We're like, this is a mistake.
And I was like, this is broken. Like, something's not right. Something got pulled in weird.
Yeah.
And then as I was getting ready to like start investigating deeper and figure out why Google was showing Sam Horrigan as Val, my brain instantly flashed back to the moment when Val's doing his work on the ramp. And I'm like, it's because he was in the movie.
He was in the movie. A movie in a movie.
What's funny about it, and we can actually, we'll talk about it now, even though it happens in a little while. Sure. And it's kind of a spoiler at this point. But if you haven't watched the movie already and didn't notice, it's fine. It's fine. This is what we're here for. What I think is funny is that Val was literally on a TV behind Michael. Barely even noticeable. Like, blink and you miss it situation.
Yeah.
He's credited. But because you pointed this out to me, I didn't notice it, to be honest. Yes. When Michael bumps into that cowboy at the airport, that cowboy is played
by Matthew Lawrence,
who is their other brother.
Yeah.
And he's not credited.
Yeah. Not until like the very end.
I mean, you have to go. He is literally the last name on the list on IMDb.
Really?
Yeah. When you break down to all of the casting crew,
dang,
he is the last name. And it's like, he had what, 5 seconds of screen time?
Probably like 10.
But it was, in my opinion, more impactful than Val.
Right.
But that makes me think that there was something in Sam Horrigan's contract that required him to be listed as or be credited as a character, even though it wasn't. I don't know.
Or in the before scene cuts or anything. Yeah. It was a longer, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much of it you could have shown without being like, you know what, just pause this movie and go watch Brink really quick.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Now we can get back on the train.
Yes. All right. So Michael leaves Tommy watching TV so that he can go on a date with Gina. Yeah. Because it's their 2-week anniversary and she wanted to go out. He can't say no to her, and that hurts. Yeah. It's like, bro.
Which is kind of alluding to my theory that he's using her to get to her dad and for relations.
Yeah. So he leaves Tommy there watching movies, and then he's like, we'll hang out tomorrow. It's fine. Like, Tommy's only there for 4 days. He says he's going to take him to Disneyland on Monday because it's a Saturday, I think, or a Sunday when he gets dropped off. Yeah. And they're like, we should go to Disney. He should go to Disney. You should take him to Disneyland. And he's like, oh, I'll take him on Monday because like Saturdays are crazy. Right. Something like that. Yeah.
The day he gets dropped off has to be a Friday.
It has to be a Friday.
At minimum. Because he has a class.
Yeah. It's his last day before summer break.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's college, so it could have been a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday.
It could have been any day.
But it is definitely...
Yeah.
At least.
I mean, for Tommy to leave school. Yeah. You know, it has to be at least Friday. Yeah. So he's only missing like 1 day of school.
Right.
You know.
Right. Assuming he's not homeschooled.
He's not, because they talk about all of his schoolwork and stuff.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Later
in the trunk.
On.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. So never mind. He's not homeschooled. Yeah. So, where do we?
Yeah. So then he's like, the next day, I can't remember what they were going to do. They were going to do something, and then he's like, I just have to run a few errands, and I'll come back and pick you up.
I don't think there's anything like specifically.
Yeah, I think they were just like, we're going to hang out.
Yeah.
But he ends up leaving and probably spending the whole day with Gina. Right. But like, you just see, because that morning Arlene makes him like eggs and bacon and like a big meal. Yeah.
And he's like, someday I'm gonna make you breakfast.
He's like, I'm gonna make something for you.
Montana style.
Yeah. And so like, she makes him that breakfast, and then Michael's like, blah blah blah, we're gonna leave. Oh, I'll see you later today. I won't be gone that long. And then it's like a whole montage of Tommy just watching movies and
walking around playing with the boat in the pool.
Yeah. Teaching Arlene how to lasso.
Yeah.
And then like I think it cuts to the next day. Well, like it's like
you think it's the next day.
Well, because you see him playing with the boat in the pool, and then he's watching movies again.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you see is him cooking something for Arlene. So
right.
I'm assuming it's like the next day.
Yeah.
And then like it goes through like a whole series of him like watching TV, eating candy, watching TV, you know, like he's just stuck in this mansion because Michael's not taking him anywhere.
Right.
And then like the next like talking sequence, I guess, is Arlene like giving Michael the cold shoulder.
Right.
And he's like, because like he's used to waking up and his juice being ready for him.
Yeah, and
he's like, where's my juice? And she's like, I've been busy.
Yeah.
I haven't made it because I'm taking care of your cousin.
He's like, yeah, I've been entertaining your cousin because you neglected him.
Yeah. And then Tommy walks in and he's like, hey, Tommy, how's it going? And he's like, just ignores him.
Oh, doesn't he say like, now you care or something like that? Or is that later?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. He's just like ignores him and walks away.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Arlene's like, he's like, I'm gonna take him to Disneyland next week, and she's like, next week is today. He leaves tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I thought he blah blah blah.
Right. He's like, he just got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, and he hasn't left the house this whole time. And like so Glenn and JC have gone to Palm Springs or Palm Beach or something.
Like that.
They left. They're not there.
Right. So they don't know that he's being neglected.
Because there's like a benefit something that they were doing. Michael says something. He's like, I plan to have more to do with you I plan to do more with you this week. Today I'm gonna take you to Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And that's when Tommy's like, oh, now you care? He's like, yeah, I promise. Today we're gonna go to Disneyland. It'll be so much fun. He's like, really? You're not gonna bail? And he's like, no, we're gonna do it. And then
you know.
Yeah, he's like, awesome. Can we? And then like they get in the car and he's like, can we ride Space? He's like listing all these things. And I was like, yes. He's like, Space Mountain first, and then like Splash Mountain or something like that.
Yeah. The Matterhorn, I think. The Matterhorn,
yeah. Because that was there.
Yeah, it still is.
It is?
Yeah.
I thought they closed it.
No, the Matterhorn bobsled's still there.
What did they close?
Splash Mountain.
No, but anyway, it's fine.
Okay.
Anyway. He's like, we can ride every ride 100 times if you want. I'll be right there with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, let's go. And then Gina calls.
Right. Here's what's funny is, well, not funny, I guess. It was probably pretty easy to predict, but watching the movie, right?
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to Disneyland. And as soon as I saw them in the car, I'm like, I get the feeling they're never going to make it to Disneyland.
They're never going to make it.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I know we watched this growing up. Right. So like, I'm sure my memory was telling me that they don't ever get to Disneyland, but I wasn't sure.
No,
but I was like, I'm fairly confident they're never going to make it to Disneyland. And then of course Gina calls and her dad's in town for a couple of minutes.
for just a little bit. And he's going to leave soon. So you have to come meet him now. Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, just wait. You can meet him another time. He meets him later anyway.
Honestly, it's like,
it's not that long. I think it's a month technically. Because it's after he gets back from Montana, but still, he would have never had to go to Montana.
Right. Had he just taken him to Disneyland, this probably could have been avoided.
Yeah. So he ends up deciding, like, you know what? I'll take Tommy to Disneyland later.
Yeah.
I'm going to go drop him off at this place where kids play.
Yep.
But they're like children, like.
It's literally called Kiddie Center.
Yeah, it's like a daycare.
Yeah.
They're like not 8 years old. That's probably old for those kids.
They're probably 4. Like, I mean, there's like babies playing in the ball pit.
Yeah.
You know, they're like little kids.
And he's like, you're going to have so much fun here. And he's like,
I used to come here all the time when I was a kid. And Tommy's just like, how old do you think I am? Right? Like,
but he ends up going to the horse track to meet Gina's dad and miraculously picking like several
Every single horse that he picks wins.
Yeah. Amazingly.
Yeah. And he's like, it's just a vibe thing. I'm telling you.
Right.
Because Gina's dad's like, how do you keep picking the winners? And he's like, it's just a vibe thing, man.
Yeah.
And I was like,
crazy, dude.
Okay.
But yeah. And then, he's like hours later, he's trying to leave the horse track and he backs into that lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's like, you weren't even looking. And he's like, I don't know where my head is. I've got a family thing. Here's all my information. And she's like, oh my gosh, I hope everything's okay. And he's like, me too.
Yeah. And then he ends up leaving and going to pick Tommy up at the kiddie zone.
Yeah.
And he can't find him. I love that he goes through all of the jungle gym.
How did he get through first?
Right.
Like, obviously this is like 1999, so security is like,
yeah, it's not what it is today.
It's not what it is like, there's someone standing at that gate, it is locked, you cannot get in until I unlock this.
Right.
Yeah. But like, how did this adult man just walk right through?
Right. And he's all up in the jungle
and
gym
climb through the jungle gym without parents being like, excuse me.
And he falls all the way
out. It's so funny. Like, that's not possible.
I'm like, you turned left a lot of times and right a lot of times to end up right where you started when you fell backwards a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
But he ends up not finding him, so he goes to a worker, which I'm like, why was that not your first stop? Was like, hey, I'm here to pick up Tommy.
Right. And it's like, it's the worker that he signed him in with.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm looking for Tommy. And she's like, oh, are you Michael? And he's like, yeah. And she's like,
he called Arlene.
He called Arlene
she
to
doesn't
pick
have
him
her
up.
last name on here, so we can't say that. But
yeah,
he called Arlene to pick him up. And so he goes back to the house where Tommy is sitting on the couch or in the movie theater area.
In the movies.
Watching the movie. And he comes in and he's like, do you have any idea what you put me through?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when he says, now you care.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it happens. All I remembered was that line. And I was like, yeah, that's a good line,
that's
buddy. That's a good line.
Good job. Yeah.
Yeah. So then,
Yeah. And like Tommy was like, I thought something happened to you because you said you were going to be gone for 5 minutes.
Right.
And it's been hours.
Yeah.
So like the fact that he knew Arlene's number, like the house number.
Good heads up thinking.
Yeah. And he was like, I wish I still had that memory where I could just like, someone could give me their phone number and like locked.
Right.
I don't have stupid iPhones.
Dude, I still remember our old home phone number.
Yeah.
From the house over there.
Over there? Yeah.
Over there, yeah.
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 I don't know.
And I can remember, like, obviously, like, your phone number and, like, mom and dad's numbers.
Right. Those ones are easy.
I have no idea what Raylan's number is.
I have no idea.
Not Marcy. Lauren. I don't know everyone's phone number, but I know, like, the ones that I had to know before I had a phone that remembered it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything else is lost on me.
Yeah. I can remember phone numbers that I don't need anymore.
Yep.
They probably don't work anymore.
Probably.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah. So then basically to skip ahead a decent bit because we are trailing again.
Well, his parents get back and they're like, how was Disneyland? And he's like, it was great. Thank you for asking, actually.
Oh, awesome. I'm doing great with the camera thing today.
Did it die?
Yeah. I need to swap the battery on that one. That one didn't stop recording. It just died. But anyway, let's finish this train of thought and then then I'll do that.
We'll move on.
Yes.
Yeah, so Michael's parents get back home and they're like, oh, you're back from Disneyland. How was it? And he's like, everything I expected, thank you. And then like walked away and they're like, wow, he's so different. Like, you must have tuckered him out.
Yeah.
And then Michael's like, yeah.
See, that should have been the first moment that Michael started to appreciate Tommy more because he didn't have to tell him. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't technically pretend he did go to Disneyland.
Right.
He never said that he did go to Disneyland.
Right.
But he could have said, I don't know, we never got there because he had to do stuff with his girlfriend.
Right.
He could have said that and he didn't.
Said that. Yeah.
He said something very specific that got his point across without... It basically told Michael what Michael needed to know.
Yeah.
And it told the parents what they wanted to know.
Yeah.
What they thought they needed to know.
Yeah. And then like...
Very clever line writing in there, to be honest.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah. And like going off of that, like the next day when he's leaving, Glenn and JC Glenn is taking him back to the airport. And he's like, how was your time with Michael? And he, again, clever writing. He said, let's just say if he ever makes it out to Montana, I'd love to repay the favor.
Yeah.
Which
Another
is, like,
really great line of dialogue because
fantastic.
he knows exactly what he meant.
He knows exactly what he's saying.
But as far as Dad knows, he's like, oh, that
he's
means
like, they had a great time.
Take care of him very
he's
well.
He's great with him.
Yeah. But okay, so now we're at the airport. No, now Tommy has been dropped off.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go back to the Woods house. But before we do that, I'm gonna swap my batteries.
Yes.
Okay. So we're back home
yes.
after dropping Tommy off at the airport.
Yes.
And this is when Michael thinks he's, out of the woods, all good to go.
Yeah.
And then his dad comes in. His mom and dad come in.
No, they're sitting at the table.
Oh, yeah, at the dinner table, and they're being
Michael
cold to him. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And JC's like, I got an interesting call from my sister today.
Yeah.
Apparently, Tommy never left the house.
Yeah.
And they were like, Yeah. Oh, also, he told his dad that the dent on the back of his Porsche was a hit and run.
Oh, yes.
Forgot to mention that, but...
Now, here's the thing. He's right. Technically, it was a hit and run.
Yes.
He just made it sound like he wasn't the one who hit and ran, but he was.
Yeah, because while they're talking about Tommy and how he was treated, the doorbell rings and his dad goes and answers it, and they're like, it's the police officers.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, does Michael Woods live here? And he's like, yes, he's my son. Is there a problem? He's like, he got into a car accident with blah blah blah, and oh, that's who that name is. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Deirdre White.
That's
who it is.
it. Yeah. I was trying to figure out who she was.
Like, and he gave her some wrong information, and he was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
And then he's like, "You told me it was a hit and run." He's like, "Technically, I hit her, and I had to run."
Yeah.
And
he's right.
He's not wrong.
He did do the hitting and running.
Yeah. So then they're like, "Here's your punishment. You're going to go to Aunt Jules, and work on her farm, on her ranch for free for an entire month."
Yeah.
And he's like, "A month? What?" And he's like, because he's got a whole Europe trip planned.
Right.
He's like, "Do you want to go to that? You're gonna go do this. And if I get one negative, and I mean one negative report from her or Tommy, kiss your Europe trip goodbye."
Yes.
And he's like, "That's not fair." He's like,
but it is.
Yeah.
So then, he gets shipped off to
Montana. Yeah.
Where he has to ride in a single prop plane from one airport to another.
Most likely, yeah.
I'm assuming he flew commercially to like Denver or something, and then had to take a puddle jumper.
Yeah.
The rest of the way, because
most likely, yeah.
They don't have airports big enough for a jumbo jet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so he ends up in Montana. He gets off the plane. My favorite part is when he gets off the plane and the guy takes his luggage out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Thank you," and he goes to grab it from him, and the dude just sets it down.
He just sits it down on the ground, and he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll pick it up from here."
Which is that part I was like, okay, that was being like a little too like, things are way different here than they are in California. That was like really trying to drive that point home.
Right.
I think the guy would have handed it to him if he was standing right there.
I think, because he's like all dressed up, right?
Yeah, he's like, got like
his cowboy costume.
His cowboy costume, not cowboy clothes, cowboy costume. He's got some Gucci.
Yeah. And
what leather did it say it was?
He says they're Italian
leather.
Yeah. And I think the point they're trying to get across with that is like, he's definitely not from here.
Right.
He's playing cowboy.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "We're going to treat you as if you were a cowboy then."
Right.
"Here's your luggage on the ground."
Right.
like how rich people stick their nose up at everybody else. It's like a reverse thing where they're like, "You're in our town now."
Right. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when he bumps into his brother.
Yeah.
But it's not his brother. It's just cowboy at the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he gets picked up by, is it Tommy and Jules?
Yeah, it's Tommy and Jules.
Okay, so they both pick him up from the airport and drive him back home.
Yeah.
They're going home. Doodly. I'm trying to skip ahead a decent bit here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of detail here that's not super important. But
basically, they make a pit stop.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They make a pit stop at the bank because they have they're well, spoilers. Well, you already heard about it in the
Yeah,
in the synopsis.
Yeah.
That they're in danger of losing it, so they had to. Jules had to stop at the bank to like basically do her last stitch effort.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like
please.
how can we?
Yeah, what can we do to?
What can I do to keep my ranch?
Yeah,
I know it's like a losing profit or something like that. I can't remember the exact phrase.
Hemorrhaging money. I don't know what the correct word that they use in the movie is, but yeah.
She's like, I know I owe you a lot of money. Can I do payments, and can they be this little?
Yeah. Like, can I pay you $25 every other Tuesday?
Every other Tuesday. That's $50 a month. Let's go.
Let's say it.
$50 to $75 a month. So
yeah, but basically the banker's like, no, you cannot. Sorry about it.
But yeah, so then they end up at the ranch, and that's when he meets Twister and Mule.
Yes.
And
he says something snarky about Mule's name, right?
Yeah, this part's where
it's probably where it didn't age well.
Yeah.
But it's also probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like still to this day, a lot of people would have the same gut reaction. But like maybe nowadays we would think a little bit before we said anything.
I love Mule's response though. He's like, whatever. Because she's like, this is Mule. And he's like, oh, who gave you that name? And he's like, my great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And he was like, I thought it was a nickname. I'm sorry.
Right. Which is honestly kind of valid when he then meets Twister.
Right.
Whose name I am certain is not Twister.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's just funny because he's like, that's my name. What are you talking about? I don't know.
Right. Like that is my name, but okay.
Okay. But like, I think Mule also knows like this is a California man. He's not used to seeing Native Americans.
Right.
You know, so he probably thinks it's a nickname.
Probably.
But yeah.
But yeah. So then fast forwarding a decent bit. If there's anything important that happens in between where we were and where I'm going, let me know. But I don't think there really is.
I don't think.
But they go, basically they're like, he's like, they're doing something on a swing, I think, outside. And he's like, let me show you how the satellite works. Yeah. And they go inside and he's like, he opens the cabinet and he's like, yeah, this is our TV and you can get basically 1 million channels. And there's like a hutch that is a heirloom to the family because it was Tommy's dad's great-great-grandparents when they were literally in a covered wagon. Yeah. Making their way to Montana. Trail. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. But anyway, so he's like, yeah, this is the TV and this is how you know, it's got about 1 million channels. And he's like, stay up as late as you'd like. Right. He's like, you're not staying with me? He's like, no, I'm going to turn in. He's like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm pretty tired. And he's like, the sun's still up. And he's like, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Yeah. So then Tommy goes up to bed and then basically it goes nighttime and then wake up and it's Tommy with a triangle, a steel triangle. That's so funny. Rigging it to wake up Michael. Yeah. And he's like, what time is it? And he's like, 4 a.m. And he's like, I only went to bed 2 hours ago. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to need some more sleep if I'm going to be helpful. Yeah. And he's like, that's the life of the ranch, man. We wake up at 4:30 in the morning and get started. He's like, breakfast is ready. Let's go. Yep. Roll it. This is why we went to bed at 8 p.m. Yeah. And then they have breakfast. They have breakfast. And he's like, do you have any... He's like, I'll just drink coffee. Because like do you have any turkey bacon? Yeah. Twister's like, bacon comes from a pig, not a turkey. Yeah. He's like, all right. This is not what I'm used to. So I like that line a lot. Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah. So then from there, basically Tommy's like, do you want to stay around here or do you want to ride a horse all day? Right. And he's like, I think I'll stay around here. Yeah. Well, because Jules asked him, she's like, is Michael going to go with you today? And he's like, no, I think he'll feel more comfortable here rather than riding a horse all day. Right. That's how it goes. And he's like, yeah, that's probably accurate. Yeah. Yeah. And then he gets assigned to move the manure. Yes. Yeah. And he's like, how am I going to do that? And Tommy's just like, you're a smart man. You go to college. Figure it out. Yeah, because it's literally moving it from one side of the bullpen to the other side. Okay. Which I don't understand because it seems like it's in a less convenient place. I was going to say. I think they were just giving him something to do. Yeah, like why do we stack the manure over here? Right. To move it 30 feet that way. Yeah. When you could have just put it over there to begin with. Honestly. It also seems like it's in a pathway where he moves it to. Right. So I'm like, why
why would you put it there?
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe there was a garden or something nearby and they had to move. I don't know.
Maybe. But so he ends up moving it all with a shovel and a wheelbarrow. Pretty successfulely, honestly. Like, I'm like, hard to knock that. But then they get back and like, hey, thought you would have used the tractor.
And he's like,
huh? What?
There's a tractor?
It's like around the corner. I thought you would have seen it.
Yep. And tells Tommy, he's like, why didn't you tell me there was a tractor? He's like, it was right there. I thought you would have seen it. I didn't realize how blind you were. My bad.
And what's funny is like the angles that you originally see, there's no way us as the audience would have ever seen it, right? They did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But after you see where it is and where he was scooping the manure from, you're like, it was literally right there.
Right there.
It was to his left the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when he was bringing the wheelbarrow back from the dumping spot to where he was picking it up, and he turned that corner, it should have been directly in front of his face.
It would have been like right there. Right in front of him.
But I guess, city boys don't know how to use tractors, so wheelbarrows seem to make more sense. I don't know.
In Michael's defense, the wheelbarrow was on top of the manure with the shovel next to it.
Yeah, so it was clearly set up for him to think that was what he was supposed to use.
It was obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first example of Tommy setting up Michael for failure. Yeah. Because he's trying to get even with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what happens next? Let's see. We do stuff. I think he's on the phone with Gina at one point.
Yeah.
Was that right after that?
It's right after that because he's like, because it's a clip of him in the shower because he's like, he fell in the manure. Yeah. And then it's them sitting on the porch. Yeah.
And then it's Tommy and Jules talking about well, it's pretty much over. Like we have no choice now.
Yeah.
And then she's like, let's keep that between us.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when Michael walks out and basically realizes that it's such a beautiful view.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, oh, you can actually see the sky here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And then it's nighttime and he turns in early this time because he's like, you're going to stay up and watch more TV. Tommy's like, you're going to watch more TV tonight? And he's like, no, I'm going to bed.
I think I'll go to bed. Yeah. And he ends up falling asleep on the porch.
Yeah, while
talking to Jules.
Yeah, while Jules is trying to tell him about her husband, I think, and how they started building the tree house.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he looks over and he's like asleep, and it's like, cool. That was a really like sensitive moment for her, and you're just
like asleep.
I mean, I'm like, I get that you're tired, but like, that's disrespectful, bro.
Yeah. At least try.
Yeah. So then they it gets to the next morning, and then Tommy's like, we're gonna be with me today. We're riding horses. And they go to the horse pen, and he's like, which horse are you going to put me on? And he's like, that one right there. Slingshot. Yeah. And he's like, Slingshot. She looks sick.
Yeah.
Looks like she's like, couldn't carry. Well, I don't know what he says.
I can't remember.
Like, she looks weak, basically.
She's going to fall apart if I sit on her.
Yeah. And he's like, I want to ride that one. What's her name? And then Tommy's like, well, usually, or sometimes we call him Black. Yeah.
Because he's a black horse. And he's like, original.
Isn't he kind of like brown, though? Like, he's not really black.
It depends on the angle.
I mean, I guess his mane is black.
He's mostly black, like in the sunlight.
Oh, I thought he was brown. Like, I totally thought he was brown.
I did too when they were putting the saddle on and stuff.
Okay.
Because I was like, oh, that's a horse double. That's not the same horse that they were just looking at. But then as they like move the camera around when he's trying to get up, it's like it like fades like black to gray.
Interesting.
To brown.
I did not catch that. But good, cool.
Yeah.
So then he gets on him. He's like, okay, go Black.
Yeah, and he's like, one thing, don't. He doesn't, and he kicks him, and he's like to be kicked.
And then he starts bucking like a bronco.
Yeah.
Because he is.
I kind of like how they look.
And then I love when he gets kicked off and he ends up in the bullpen and he has to climb out really fast and he almost dies.
The bull is angry too. It's like an angry bull.
Yeah. And then Tommy's like, are you okay?
He's like, you're going to get up real slow.
Yeah.
And then he turns and looks and the bull's like ramping up. I don't know what that's called.
I don't know.
Patting the ground.
Yeah. Vroom, vroom.
Yeah. And he starts charging and he like barely makes it over the fence.
In the first shot, he didn't make it.
His foot got stuck.
Yeah, his foot was pinned between the bull's head and the fence.
Yeah.
And then the second shot, he miraculously,
and then he was like
his foot was on the other side of the fence.
Yeah. No,
so
absolutely.
he didn't make it, but he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, he's like, Tommy, what do you call that horse when you don't call him black. He's like, lightning? Good one. It was good. And so then he ends up riding Slingshot. And then they go and they doing stuff with Slingshot. They're out doing things that I can't remember. So
they're doing branding. So they're
he's like, they're practicing, like, he's lassoing.
Yeah.
Well,
so like
Andy's not Andy. Tommy's lassoing, and he has to like tip the calf
and it's like
over.
one of the baby cat. It's like a baby cow.
Well, because that's when you brand your cows, is when they're babies.
Some of them were bigger though. Like a couple of them were bigger ones.
Those were the parents
that they had to do too, like Twister and Mule.
Oh yeah,
flipped them.
yeah.
But the one that Michael was at was like
little baby.
And he was like, grabbed it, and he's like kicking at its legs, and he's like, come on. Yeah. He's like, fall over. And then it falls, and he's like, I did it. And they're like,
okay.
Good job,
buddy.
City
Boy can.
Good job, City Boy.
Tip a cow.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't like branding. It hurt my feelings, but it's okay. I know it's like not a temporary thing, but it's like a temporary pain.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so that nobody else takes your cows.
Right.
And if you're a cattle rancher,
it's kind of important.
You have to.
Yeah.
But it did hurt. I was like, oh, I can't watch this.
Hurt your soul a little. Yeah.
I can't watch
that's
this.
Fair. Yeah. And then, okay. So then what happens? Is that when they go to the truck to move the fence post?
No. So that's the next one. But first they have
they have the night watch.
Night watch.
Yeah, because they have to take the cows out to graze, but there's a wolf warning in effect, basically.
Yeah. And Twister's like, here's some jerky, here's a flashlight. Look out for wolves. If you find it, come and get us.
Yeah. And then he's out there the whole time talking on the phone with Gina.
And they're like, he's like, don't make loud noises because they spook easily.
Yeah. But then you start to see him change a little bit.
Yeah.
He starts to become a little more human because while he's talking to Gina, he starts really realizing he can actually see the stars out here.
Yeah. And then he sees his shooting star.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was amazing.
Yeah. And then he gets all distracted and Gina's like,
oh,
Michael!
She gets me so mad at that part. I'm like,
and then she hangs up on him and then immediately calls him back. Which is a loud noise.
Yeah.
Spooks the cows. They take off.
Yeah. And he hangs up on her, calls 911, and he's like, Stampede. And they're like, sir, where's the Stampede? And he's like, right behind me.
Like they know where you are.
And then he
drops his phone.
Miraculously jumps into a tree. Honestly, like
that was pretty impressive.
That was impressive.
Honestly.
He like jumped high enough and curled up that the cows could run under him, and he was high enough off the ground that they didn't hit him. And then, like, of course, when they got home, they were all like mad.
Right. I mean,
not
that would
home.
be too.
We got back to the campsite
or to him. Yeah.
And they're like, well, now we have to
to
wrangle the cows again
and hope we don't find any wolves in the middle of that.
Yeah. And his phone is now smashed. So, also, every time he's on the phone with Gina, her little phone changes colors.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah. It's like yellow, red, and then green.
That's so weird.
It's insane.
Wow.
I was like, how many phones does she have? But I think that style of phone back then could, like, the color could change. Like, you could pop the color off and put a different color on.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I don't know.
She mentioned her outfits.
I was like 5 back then, so I don't actually know.
Hard to say. So then after that is when they have the fence thing, right?
Yes.
They have the poles.
Yeah.
So Tommy takes Michael out to where they keep all their fence posts, and he's like, just load the posts into the truck and then take it to the fence and fix it. Yeah. And he's like, the keys are inside the truck if you want to move it closer.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's right there. Why would I need to move it closer? And he moves of the...
No, he said, the keys are in the ignition. You can move the truck closer if you need to. And he's like, I think I got it.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't... Because, like, and Tommy was like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah. And then he loads it all into, like, a Ford F-100.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And then... a truck that is it Twister or Mule that comes around? I think it's Mule.
It's Mule. Yeah.
Comes around and he's like laughing. He's like, what's so funny? He's like, I'm just not sure why you loaded all those into a truck that hasn't worked in 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't look like it works.
No, it doesn't
at all. It looks like it's broken down. So like, I don't know why he assumed that was the truck.
And I don't know where the other truck was. That he couldn't see that there was 2 trucks, and he didn't feel like he needed to clarify which truck.
Like as they rode up, they ride past it.
Okay, so it's like, why did you not feel the need to clarify? Like, which truck are we talking about here? Because there are 2, buddy.
There are 2. Yeah.
Also, the amount. This is totally random sidetrack. The amount of times that Michael calls Tommy buddy drives me crazy, and I honestly think it's the reason that I hate it when people call me buddy.
Yeah.
It just feels degrading and like not respectful at all.
Right. Like I use it with my little kids.
Yeah, with little kids I think it's fine.
Where I'm like, hey buddy, let's go over here.
Yeah.
Like when I'm trying to keep them away from something.
Yeah. I don't that's fine with me.
Right.
But when like an adult is calling another adult buddy, or
if I were to walk up to you and be like, hey buddy, let's go over here. You'd be like,
I would probably punch you in the
nose. Excuse me? You're like, I'm not your buddy, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. I had a boss who called me buddy all the time, and it made me really mad.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah. It doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
Because, like you said, it feels degrading and disrespectful.
Yeah. I guess specifically as an adult, being called buddy makes me feel like I am being told, hey, you're not as smart as I am, and you're not as you're not as wise as I am because I'm older than you. So like that's the feeling I get, and I'm like,
I will if I say it to an adult, it's like in a sarcastic way where I'm like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, same.
Like that.
Same. But that is intentionally saying it that way. Yeah.
Anyway, so then he loads the posts into the truck and he drives over and finds Tommy and he's like, why didn't you tell me which truck to load it in? And he's like, I told you the keys were in the ignition. You can move it closer. Why would I say that if the truck was right next to it?
Right.
And then that's when they get into their fight.
Yeah.
Their altercation.
Yeah. And what's funny is that what I thought was funny in that moment is that Michael is like, just stay out of my way, okay? Like, I'm done with you bullying me around, like, doing all this stuff. Like, just stay out of my way. And then Tommy goes like, you just stay out of my way, okay?
He's like,
I'll stay out of your ways, but you stay out of mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, it's because he says a lot of hurtful things there, too.
He does,
Michael says, like, he's like, don't you realize that the only reason I actually hung out with you at the family reunion is because we're the only 2 people under 40?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, I hated hanging out with little 7-year-old snot-faced something or other.
Snot-nosed 7-year-old or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he said, snot-nosed 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut. Because, like, that's when Tommy really looked up to him. He's like,
I can't believe I thought you were cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So lame.
It's like, that one hurt my heart.
Yeah, me too.
Hurt my feelings a little bit, but
yeah. So then they basically just go do their own things.
Yeah.
Tommy goes and does whatever he needs to do. Yeah. And
then Michael goes and
sits
and waits for Twister.
He falls asleep on the hood of the truck.
Yeah, and Twister's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I was waiting for you." And he's like, "Take a broken post, fix it. It's not that hard."
Yeah. All the tools you need are inside the truck. And he's like, "All of them?"
Yep.
That'll take weeks. Then you better get started.
Yep. Yeah, because he's like,
and then he's like throwing attitude. Yeah, he's throwing attitude, and he's like, man, these guys are about to lose their farm. You don't even care.
Yeah.
And
he's like, what?
You say what now?
You said they're what now? Huh?
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, what happens after that?
Then he calls his dad.
Oh yeah.
He's like, why wouldn't they have told me? And like, he's like, can't we loan them the money? And he's like,
it's not
I tried.
That easy.
He's like, they're proud people. They believe that they can't take money from people. They have to earn it.
Yeah.
Which is like something I was a lot like. I think I still am.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, this is why I don't ask people for money.
Right.
You know, where I'm like, I have to work for that money. But I also have this weird little thing in the back of my brain that's like, even though you worked for it, don't ask for money.
Right.
Don't ask for money.
Felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting better though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, there's got to be a way we can save this for them.
Right.
And I think he talks to Gina. No, he doesn't talk to Gina again after that.
Not
for
yet.
A while.
Yeah.
But okay, so the next one is him fixing the fence.
Yeah.
Which is like incredible. He like steps back and he's like, I did it by myself.
Right. He's like, I accomplished something.
I like, look at what I did.
Yeah.
With my own 2 hands.
Heck yeah, man. Be proud of yourself.
Yeah. And then he sees Tommy ride over to a bench that him and his dad built.
Yeah.
And they're watching the wild horses.
Right. And that's when he comes over and he's like, look, I
Yeah.
said some rotten things to you that I didn't mean. And like
Yeah.
they kind of start to reconcile a little bit.
It's like the beginning of their heart to heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, one of the things that like, it's a staple in these movies is for the heart to heart.
Yeah.
And what I realized at that moment is I'm like, okay, this heart to heart isn't going to be the older, wiser fellow to the child or the younger fellow.
Yeah.
It's going to be the younger fellow giving the older fellow the things he needs to hear.
The life advice. Yeah.
And I was so ready for that.
Yeah.
I was excited for that to happen.
I think that's what I like most about this movie is that it's like it flips the script completely where it's like the older one is not the right one.
Yeah.
Not the one to come in and correct the younger kid. And
right.
Like help
the younger
fix
kid
the
has
younger
to
kid.
Fix the older kid.
Yeah. It's the younger kid who's like, I've actually lived more of a life than you have.
Right.
I've lost my dad. I work on this ranch every day.
Yeah.
I know what hard work looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a slacker and I'm going to show you how to work hard.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
But yeah. So then after that, we go to, I think it's the next day. Mm-hmm. And Jules and Tommy are going to a barbecue.
Yes.
At another fellow rancher's
another rancher's place. And like Tommy's trying to build this tree house.
Yeah, he's trying to finish it because he never finished it because it was a project he started with his dad. And like I kind of was like trying to get into that mentally, like, okay, what is the reasoning that he wouldn't want to finish it? And it's like, because as long as he holds on to that project that him and his dad started, as long as that's never finished, he has that little piece of his dad to hold on to.
Yeah.
And they're like, basically like, we are basically going to have to move in a week.
Yeah. And so Tommy's
he's like busting his butt trying to finish it.
I'm going to finish this
fast.
before we have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Tommy and Jules leave for the barbecue. And then that's when Michael looks at the treehouse and he's like, you know what? I'm going to do something nice for this kid and I'm going to go finish his treehouse for him.
Which, like, how long were they gone?
Honestly.
Because he finished this.
He finished that treehouse.
It.
And I'm like, okay.
I understand.
This man was trying to do something noble, but he also, like,
he didn't
realize
the connection.
Yeah. Because he never lost his dad.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that hurt and that, what's the word? Not like coping. Coping.
That cope. Yeah. Like this is the last thing he has of his dad.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand, like, because his dad just is there.
Yeah, exactly. So that was so then they get back from the barbecue and Tommy comes and sees it and he's like, no, that was ours. This was me and my dad. Yeah. My goodness gracious.
Did it die?
No, it just stopped recording that time. But yeah, he's like, this is me and my dad's, not anyone else, just me and my dad. And he goes up there and he starts ripping pieces off of it and kicking the railing off and drops crying. And Michael's just like, I literally had no idea. Like I was just trying to be helpful. Yeah. So they finished the treehouse thing. Yeah. Tommy ends up just torn down. Yeah. And then I think it's the next day.
Yeah. The days go by like pretty quickly. Yeah. So like the 4 weeks is like four episodes.
Yeah.
Like four or five scenes.
Yeah.
Is like a day or a week.
And we get through it all.
Yeah.
And now he's heading back to California.
Yes. Oh, it just died.
Cool. Just look over here now. Can't do anything about that one.
So before that one, Tommy comes riding up to, or because he's on the phone. This is when he's on the phone with Gina.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just feel really bad because they're gonna lose their farm, and like I'm about to go to Europe, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
And then Gina's like, well, whatever, we're gonna have a great time, blah blah blah. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go to bed because I want to wake up early and go for a ride before I do some work before I head home. Yeah. And she's like, early work? Those are not words in your vocabulary. And he's like, I know, it's actually not that bad. Like, yeah, working isn't that bad, once you get into the swing of it. And then she's like, well, my friend's waiting for me, and you know how much she hates waiting. Bye.
Rude. See, the fact that she just dismisses him so quickly should be like,
yeah,
dude, you should have cut that rope a long time ago.
Yeah.
But so he gets back.
Yeah.
And while he's back, he's like,
well, he gets back. Hold on. He gets back from his ride, And then Tommy comes riding up, and he's like, "Where are Twister and Mule?" And he's like, "They're off somewhere."
Oh yeah, I've almost completely skipped this part.
he's like, "Tommy Boy's gonna die." Like one
Tommy
of the wild horses.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Come on!" And without hesitation, Michael jumps on the horse with him, and he's like, "Let's go." Because he's like, he's a wild horse. He's stuck in the mud. They freak out easily.
You know what? This happens a long time before this.
No, it's right before he leaves. Trust me.
Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure it was like the first time that Tommy talks to him after they have their huge...
No, it's right before he leaves, because they go and Tommy goes out in the mud with the lasso and gets it around Tommy Boy's neck. Mm-hmm. And then he tells Michael to wrap it around the horse. Yeah. And then they get Tommy Boy out, and he's like, "You're free, go." And then they're walking back, and Jules is like, "You've got 5 minutes to take a shower before you have to go back to the airport."
Okay, you're right. I don't know why my brain was putting it in the wrong spot. I think it's because it felt like it was they were too calm together. Yeah. And I felt like it was too early, but maybe it was because of maybe I was thinking of the bench. Yeah. And they were talking about the wild horses. Yeah. Maybe that's when my brain got all twisted around. But yeah, okay, yeah. So they save the horse, and then she's like, "What the heck are you guys doing?" Like, yeah. She's like, "You have 5 minutes, take a shower, let's go. I got to get you to the airport." Right. And they're like, he's like, "Okay," and he takes a really fast shower apparently. Well, he learned to shower fast after the first one.
Yeah. And like not Michael, Tommy's like covered in mud. Yeah. Covered in mud cuz he crawled into the mud pit to get the horse out. Right. But yeah, so like cuz Tommy was saying how horse races are abusing the horses and stuff. Right. And so then Michael was like, when they were looking at the wild horses, he's like, "Now I understand why you hate horse tracks." Right, because they're so wild and they're so free out in the they're open so there. Free out here and all that. Yeah. Okay. And then on their way to the airport, that's when Tommy's riding up to catch up. And she's like, "What is he doing?" Is
that when he's trying to give him the whistle?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, "I wanted to give this to you," and he's like, "This can't be the same one from the reunion." Yeah. And he's like, "No, I made a new one." It's like, "That's awesome, man." Yeah. Okay, now he's back home.
Now he's back home. And there's not really a lot that happens there, right? Like,
it just shows him at
the horse race. Mm-hmm. And because Gina's dad bought his own race horse, mm-hmm. and then he starts freaking out after he wins the race. Yeah,
they start taking pictures, and the horse freaks out because of the flashes, which is a common thing that actually happens.
That's normal. Horses don't like flashes, guys.
And like Michael just like instantly runs up there, and he's like,
he takes what he learned from Tommy. He's like, "Whoa, and he's like, it's okay, whoa, son."
Yeah, and he's like talking to the horse. He's talking to the race horse, like, and he's like, "I'm not." They're like, "Let a professional take care of this," and he's like, "He's not gonna hurt me because I'm not gonna hurt him." Yeah. And all this, and I was like, "Oh,
that's so good." Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And then I think the next scene is when when she's there to pick him up to go to the airport.
To go to Europe, yeah.
And then he walks past the guy who's trying to take his bags, and he doesn't give them to him. He's like, "I got it."
And she's like, "No, give it to him. That's what he's paid for." And I was like, I hate rich people.
Oh my God.
Snobby people. Yeah. Not just rich snobby people.
"I'm not going with you."
Yeah.
She's like, You say what?
And then that's it.
Yeah. And then he leaves, and he ends up going to the bank, and he's like, "I want to liquidate my trust because I need this money." Blah, blah, blah.
He sells his Porsche. Yeah. And he like gets all this money, and
then he takes it. Yeah. And he goes back to Montana, and he just walks in. I love that he just walks in.
He just walks in. He just opens the door. He's like, "I'm home." And she was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Yeah. It was great. I love that I love that.
That's a good scene.
He can just do that. Yeah. You know, like they're super comfortable. He's with each other, and like he knows that it won't scare her. Right. You know.
Right. And then he's like, "Here, this is your money." And she's like, "It's not my money. It's your money. I can't take this." He's like,
"No. It's an investment into the ranch."
And she's like, "It's a bad investment."
Bad investment. Like, and he's like, "Don't know what to do." But I sold everything.
But yeah. Yeah. And so then the next day is the auction.
Yes.
And he's talking to Tommy about the wild horses and how it's too bad that they're not a land. What is it? Yeah, land trust?
So they're carrying the trunk out. Yeah. And he he's like, what's in this? And he's like, it's all my schoolwork. My mom keeps everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, let's see what's in here. He's like, the trunk will give us money, but we'll have to clear everything out. And he like picks up a paper and he's like, oh, A+. That's awesome. And he's like, the last test I took, I got a D on it. And he's like,
and he's like,
oh,
there's a
really?
paper on land trust.
He's like, land trust and property, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
And
so then he goes
runs.
and calls his dad and he's like, Dad, I need you to get my D+ paper.
Yes.
His dad's like, a D? And he's like, Dad, that's not the point
that's
right
not
now.
The point. And then he's like, flip to page 5 or 6. And he's like,
there's only 2 pages.
It's 4 pages.
4 pages.
And he's like, whatever, find the page that's about land trust.
Yeah. And then he finds it. And then he ends up running to the bank and he talks to the banker and he basically convinces the banker to apply for a land trust, which, as I understand it, is the state then takes over the land. Yeah. Basically buys the land from the bank.
Yes.
And then it becomes a
wildlife sanctuary basically,
where they can care for the wild horses and continue to do what they're doing with their cattle.
Yeah. He's like, you don't own the property anymore, but they're going to pay you to manage it.
Yeah, to live here and take care of it. Yeah. Which is crazy.
Which is insane.
It goes from we can't keep ourselves afloat to now we're making money just because we live here.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming like
there's probably
them
a lot
paying
of
them
there,
is like paying off their debt and then they'll be making money. I guess. That's what I assume, but like
it's hard to say. It's kind of those government programs are weird.
Yeah. My assumption is that they would still be paying like Twister and Mule. Yeah. But then like Jules and Tommy would be whatever they are making is like clearing their debt. Yeah.
Which would only really be Jules.
Right.
Tommy's a child, so they can't. But yeah.
I think they mention it somewhere in there. He's like, your debts are covered or something like that if it's approved, and he's like, which it will be because you have the land with the wild horses. Right. And then they're like, is there anything we can do to repay you? And he's like, I'd like to stay and see this through because it's a 30-day extension to approve of the land trust. And she's like, you can stay as long as you want.
Heck yeah.
And he's like, thank you. And then Tommy was like, the very last scene, Tommy's like, you want to finish that treehouse?
Yeah. And then they go and they're going to finish the treehouse. And then they finish
the treehouse. And it's so funny because he's just like holding the door and like he puts one nail in the hinge of the door. And then the closing scene is him with a tape measure, just like... Right. I was like, you already got the door on there. What are you measuring?
Oh, my goodness.
It's so funny. It's so good, though.
It was a good one. So, that's Horse Sense. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do not remember the end credits song, which makes you think it was a good one.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Because it didn't make me mad.
Yeah. It was slightly Western.
Oh, it's kind of like the guitar, like...
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
I'm on the farm.
Yeah. But it wasn't one that was like...
Used to be a city boy, like, and now I'm on the farm.
I'm not a country fan.
Fair enough.
But it was like a Western-ish one that I didn't hate.
Awesome.
So I would probably not put it on my playlist, but I would listen to it at the end.
Yeah, it's not like Smart House or what was the other one? 13th Year, where
where you're just like, all right, the song, the movie's over. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
How did it hold up?
I think it held up really well.
I think this is the first one that is like everything except for that little thing with Mule at the beginning.
With Mule, but it's
held up, but that's still probably accurate.
It still holds up.
Yeah, it is like
he like instantly was like, I thought it was a nickname. That was my fault.
Yeah, he's like, didn't mean to hurt, didn't mean to offend. Yeah. Sorry.
And like Mule's just like
educate myself.
City boy doesn't know anything. It's fine. Yeah, kind of thing. I think if it had come from another like rancher, it would have been completely different.
I think so too.
But because it came from this California boy, he was not offended whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think so too.
So I think it held up very well.
All the lessons in it, I feel like, are still relevant.
Accurate, yeah.
I think the movie itself just held up a lot better than some of the other ones. Like Genius did not hold up over the years.
Not too well.
This one has. You could put this movie, if this movie came out today, it would still be a really good movie. It would still
be a really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That being said, my rating?
Yes.
5 stars.
I was going to say, this is our 5 out of 5.
This is our 5 out of 5.
I don't know if we've had one before. I think we have.
Xenon was the closest, and it was
5.5. 4.5 out of 5. This is a 5.
This is a
great movie. I love this movie, honestly. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about it.
I don't have anything else to say. Like,
I think
this was great.
We may have gotten through this faster than everything else with all the cutting and stuff we have to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to remind you guys that the podcast is available on all major podcast platforms. So if you're watching on YouTube and you want the audio only version, you can find it on not Stitcher. We're not there. Sorry. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and Amazon Podcasts and iHeart Podcasts. If you are listening to the audio only version and you want the video version, that's on youtube.com/Noah Parker _channel, or you can just search Noah Parker _channel in the search bar and look for the circle that says the Noah Parker channel in it. If it's a photo of a dude, that ain't me. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Noah Parker's World of Wonder. And let's see, I think that's the socials. So yeah, all I have left to say, guys, is a few things, I guess. a couple things. So we're going to share it with your friends and your family and your coworkers, your bus driver at the Disney World Resort, your monorail pilot at the Disneyland Resort, the skipper of your boat for the Jungle Cruise. Couldn't think of that word fast enough. And next week, Mom and I are kind of diverting a little bit from like the park's current events situation that we typically do, but also not, because what we've decided to do is we are pulling a bunch of articles from like Mousetrap News and the Disney something. Hold on, I gotta find the name of it. It's another Disney like I think it's satire news. Well, the thing is, the Mousetrap is satire. Like that is totally like nothing they say is credible.
Mousetrap.
It's a mousetrap. Yeah, it is what it sounds like. The other one is InsideTheMagic.net, which I don't think is technically satire. Like they're usually giving you like real information, but their headlines are super misleading.
Okay.
So me and Mom are going to dive into those and break some of those down next week. But until then, guys, let the wonder take hold.